Okay, awesome. I think we're gonna get started now. Is that okay with everyone? Good? Okay, cool. Awesome. So hi everyone, welcome to the Resume and Career Fair workshop. I'm Jack Helmering. I'm a third-year biomedical engineering major, and I currently serve as the webmaster for MDC.
I'm Emily. I'm a second-year general engineering student, and I'm the treasurer for MDC.
Awesome. So we're gonna start by talking about resumes. So the content and order of a resume, you're going to start with like a heading containing your contact information. That'll include your name, Cal Poly or personal email, phone number, LinkedIn, etc. Next up, you're going to want to include education. That's probably one of the most important sections. That'll include your college, expected graduation date, major, GPA, relevant coursework, and then just, I guess, anything else related to your degree. You will not want to include high school with the exception of after your first year. In your first year, high school is obviously the only experience you have, so it's still different. And then experiences, you can divide this up into two different sections. So you can start with some relevant engineering experiences. This would include any projects, internships, clubs, industry experience that relates to your major, if you're in engineering, obviously. And then non-engineering experiences. This could include other work experiences, organizations you're a part of, volunteering, etc. Make sure to include all job titles, location, years, and then the names of the companies. You can also include some optional sections. That could be like a skills and quality section where you discuss your computer skills, language skills, certain attributes about yourself. You can also have an activities section showing club involvement, sports, you know, really anything. And then volunteer work, interests, hobbies. Just make sure to include any accomplishments, interesting skills, and experiences not already mentioned earlier in your resume.
Okay, for your resume, these are some recommended formatting tips. And so, first of all, you're going to want to leave your resume single-spaced and not use any font size smaller than 10-point font. Have 1-inch margins all the way around, and make sure that your font is readable. And your resume shouldn't go onto 2 pages. You should keep it to 1 page, and ideally have it go to the end of the page. And we'll talk about the cover letter, but the heading of your cover letter and resume should be the same. And then your name should be the biggest size font of your resume. And you're going to want to use a lot of white space, which basically means to leave a space between each section. And then, like, you don't want your resume to be just full of words on the whole page. There to be a lot of white space. And then the bullet points that we're going to get into for the statements that you have for each job or project, you're going to want to have those statements not go onto 2 lines unless if you have a resume that has columns. And then for each of these statements, they should start with the past tense of the verb, unless if you're still working at the job, then you'll have the present tense. And then all these statements should be incomplete sentences and not have periods at the end of the sentences or the incomplete sentences. And then it's important that you check that your resume has no grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, because oftentimes employers will just stop looking at your resume if they see a spelling mistake. And then you should use as few words as you can to convey your points. Okay, so we're going to get into how you write these accomplished statements that you have for each job and stuff. So these statements basically tell the company tell the company that you're applying to, like, how you benefited each of your projects, jobs. And some questions you can think about are how many, how much, and how often. And then, so this is basically the formula to write these statements. First, you're going to have the action verb, and then what you did, or the skill and quality, and then a connecting word, and then purpose, result, accomplishment, something along those lines. So an example is ensured customer satisfaction at a high volume location, effectively providing service to an average of 100 customers per day. And as you can see, this statement kind of answer some of these questions: how many, how much, or how often. And then these are some other tips that we recommend for your resume. You should include dates for every section if applicable, especially like jobs and projects. And then you're going to order these things in reverse chronological order based on the dates. And you should try to avoid vague phrases on your resume, such as hard worker, stand out. And then in experiences, you should emphasize the skills that you acquired or worked on that are transferable to whatever you're applying to. And then for each of these accomplished statements, try to include concrete performance data in each section, such as like using numbers to showcase the success you've had, instead of just listing your daily experiences and responsibilities. And then as far as tailoring your resume and cover letters to the job posting and companies, this is for cover letters, which we're going to get into, but an example of how you can tailor your resume to the job posting is including searchable terms from the job posting. And then, as we said, you should try to avoid discrimination, and especially after your first year.
Awesome. So here's some resume examples. As you can see here, he starts off with his heading and then, talks about his content, goes into education. Then we have water resources experiences, which is the emphasis for his degree. Below that is a skills, qualities, and honors section, just kind of showing like computer skills, equipment, and language skills. Equipment could be a good one if you're applying to a mechanical engineering job in which you would be required to use a shop facility or something. Now we're going to get into cover letters and portfolios. So cover letters are definitely the most important aspect of a job application. They can discuss your experience a little bit more in depth than a resume, and most importantly, it shows you're interested in the company that you're applying to. Well-written and thoughtful cover letters help you stand out to employers and can give them a more insightful look into who you are as a person before they give you a chance to interview. They generally are the thing which allow you to get an interview in the first place. When you go to a fall career fair, or just, I guess, any career fair, you get a chance to network and they get to actually see you face to face. For many times when you apply to a job, you will just send in your resume and cover letter, and that's all they have to base whether or not they'll give you an interview. So it's very important to have a strong cover letter. It's also important to always write a new cover letter for each job that you apply to. It takes longer, but using the same generic letter can be presenting it to your employer when they're making hiring decisions.
Okay, so this is the overall format of your cover letter that we recommend. Some of these are the same from the resume, but for the cover letter, you're gonna want to use a sans serif font and justify the text on both sides of the pages, or on both sides. And then you should not have your cover letter go onto 2 pages like your resume. And once again, the header should be the same formatting of your resume. And the paragraph should be relatively short, and especially the introduction and conclusion should be shorter than paragraphs, but the body paragraphs shouldn't be too long at all. And you're going to want to use very strong transition words between and within the paragraphs. And then you should always try to use the active voice. So an example is I wrote, instead of the passive voice, which would be the paper was written by me. And then once again, make sure there's no spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, things like that. And it's recommended to avoid these I feel, I believe, personally statements, because you want to show that you're confident in yourself. And then the right side is what the cover letter should look like. So at the top, you're going to have the same header from your resume, and then the recipient's address, and then a space, and then the date, and then another space. And then you're going to have the salutation. So you're going to want to address whoever you're writing your cover letters to, And if you're not sure exactly who's going to be reading your cover letter, you should avoid to whom it may concern. A better option would be such as Dear Hiring Manager. And then finally, you're gonna have all your paragraphs, and then at the end, you're gonna say something like sincerely, and then right below the sign off, you're gonna sign your name, and then below your signature, type out your name and any information that you feel is relevant, such as your major and your school, stuff like that. Okay, and then these are this is content for each paragraph of your cover letter. So the introduction, you should name the job you're applying to and provide a background of yourself, such as your school, major, year, things like that. And then the last sentence of your introduction should be a few reasons why you are a good fit for the internship or why you should be selected, things like that. And then in each paragraph, you're gonna elaborate on the thesis statement and break it up. And you should only have one main idea for each of these body paragraphs. And make sure to provide sufficient examples of how you could benefit the company. And additionally, do research on the company and kind of tie in why you're a good fit for the company based on your research. And then you should avoid repeating your resume, but in some way it's a good idea to point to your resume so that they make sure to look at it and not completely disregard it. So you could say something like, as you can see in my resume, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, at the conclusion, just restate your interest in the job, and then have a call to action, usually requesting them for an interview, and finally thank them for their time.
Awesome. So we're just going to briefly touch on portfolios really quick. So portfolios are a great way to show versus tell. They serve as a visual aid to showcase your experiences and interests discussed on your resume, since you obviously can't put something like a CAD design that you drew for your MDC project on your resume directly. Some content examples include projects. These could be from clubs, academics, or any industry projects that you're a part of. Designs and sketches, specifically CAD and hand drafting, are great things to show, especially when it comes to engineering. Coursework and exams is also good if it shows a high level of proficiency and that you could complete something in a set amount of time. Like a list test or something on there, but say you took a hand drafting or some sort of design test where you had to come up with a part for something in an hour. That would be a really good way to show that you can work under pressure and design something effectively. I guess anything else that makes you stand out and that you can't really put on your resume. Okay, now on to information about the career fair. So for the fall 2020 virtual career fair, it will be hosted virtually within Mustang Jobs or Handshake. The computing career fair is going to be held Tuesday, October 6th from 5 to 8 p.m. And then the fall career fair will be on both Wednesday, October 7th and Thursday, October 8th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The way this virtual career fair is set up is that they have sessions you can sign up for. There will be group sessions, which are 30 minutes. An advisor will discuss, what roles they're looking for, like if they're going to have summer internships, certain types of jobs for graduates, and then kind of what their company is about, I'd assume. And then one-on-one sessions, you can sign up for individual sessions with specific companies and talk to the representatives, show them your resume as you would at a regular career fair. Those sign-up times are open now, so you should definitely sign up early and make sure that you can get a spot. You can read more and see steps for signing up on Handshake by going to events and in Cal Poly Live Virtual 2020 Fall Career Fair. So some career fair tips. Do research on companies beforehand and decide which one to be with. For this career fair, you're obviously signing up for different time slots, so you'll kind of have your schedule laid out before you actually go. For a regular career fair, you'll kind of just have to look through the companies and then decide either once you get there, based on how busy everything is, or just have a plan of which ones you plan on seeing each day. Make note of the name of the company representative you spoke to, along with their position, and then jot down any relevant notes that you learned from talking with them. It's also important to go to the career fair, even if you aren't looking for an internship or job or don't have much experience. It's great to practice networking and, just like discussing with employers, because that's something that you're gonna have to do to get a job in the future. And yeah. So what to talk about when you're talking with one of these representatives? They'll generally ask, tell me about yourself. So you can talk about your name, major, year, and they'll also be looking at your resume most likely. So you can kind of elaborate on your relevant work and project experience that would be good for the company. And then also you can discuss some aspects that are not present on your resume. So, like Emily said before, you'll want to spark up a conversation. Like, getting to know these people is a little bit better than just trying to make yourself look super impressive. And then what interests you about our company is kind of a common question that you might be asked. This is why it's important to do research on companies that you'll be talking to. Showing your interest and tying it into your previous experience, like on your resume, that'll increase your chance of landing an interview. And then also be prepared to answer questions representatives have about your resume, and don't put anything on your resume that you can't talk about.
So this is a list of example questions for employers. Like Jack said, it's really important that you don't talk about yourself the whole time, and you want to get to know them and have a conversation with them. So for example, to ask something about them, you could say, what is your role at the company? How long have you been at the company? And then it depends on your situation, like what other questions you want to ask, but you could say, what can I do to better position myself for the internship, job, whatever it may be? What do you suggest I do to boost my chances of being picked? How many applicants and how many are accepted? And then really important that you ask, can I have your business card or email, and get some type of contact information for them for future reference. And then you may want to ask, depending on your situation and why you're going to the career fair, you may want to ask about interviews. So you could ask them if they're doing any on-site interviews. This is mostly for in-person career fairs. And would you be interested in interviewing me for an internship position? And then if they say no, or for example, you don't get an interview, you can say, what can I improve on to be a better candidate in the future? So the right-hand side is a list of what you would usually bring to an in-person career fair, which is not for this career fair. It would be more helpful in the future. So the left-hand side is a list of the steps you want to take to prepare for the virtual career fair. So first, as always, you can view the list of employers and sign up for sessions on Handshake. And then for virtual career fairs, it's very important that you update your Handshake profile, because employers are able to view this as well as your resume on your Handshake. And they recommend you update your role, location preferences, skills, organization, work experience, and very important that you have your correct graduation date on there. And then, as always, update your resume. And you have the option of uploading your resume into Handshake and making it visible to employers, which you should definitely do. And then you also have the option of opting into a resume book, which is basically a collection of student resumes that employers are able to view. And then as far as the day of the career fair goes, you should make sure you're sitting in a quiet spot and there you have a clean, non-distracting background, and make sure to dress professionally even though it's virtual, and then have your notes and questions ready to go. So Cal Poly has a lot of great resources if you need further help. So on Handshake, once again, you can see what companies are attending the career fair, and Career Services offers lots of events that may be helpful. They have resume clinics, LinkedIn workshops, career fair prep, and lots more. There's also some handouts linked here. I'm sure you can find this link though just by Googling Career Services student handouts, and they have a career fair prep worksheet that can be helpful to fill out before you attend the career fair. And then they also have a lot of example resumes that are more for engineering students as well. Does anyone have any questions?